I'd like to talk about the blockchain briefly and bring up to the stage, as a matter of fact, some really good people. Before that, I'll show a brief video, and we're running a little bit. Hopefully, we won't be late. So the blockchain can be a good tool for good people. It can be a bad tool for bad people. As it helps us maintain, share, and securitize information, the blockchain can be a new greenwashing opportunity similar to the Kimberley process, as in garbage in, garbage out. So in these blockchains, are we going to have Zimbabwean diamonds in there, even though they're on the OFAC list? Are we going to have diamonds that are bribed and all this other crap that we see? Is that going to be part of the blockchain because we love everybody, a big umbrella? So it's garbage. It's like the KP. Let us consider how the blockchain can be used to support an ethical, transparent, competitive, and efficient market. Those are the Rapaport values. Ethical, transparent, competitive, and efficient market for polished diamonds. So what we will do is we will play a brief video, and I will ask in the meantime for Leanne Kemp, Mark Hanna, so please come up to get mic'd up. Are they mic'd up yet? Hopefully they're mic'd up. Let's see if they're not mic'd up, get them mic'd up. And come up on the, start ready to come up on the stage. You have about 2 minutes to do so as I play this interesting, hopefully, video. Boom. Oh, you need a mic, trust me. It's a big room. Will we get this thing to work? Oh, okay. Video, guys?
To you a diamond engagement ring. You probably think about two people getting married and living their lives together and their beautiful love story. You also may be thinking about blood diamonds and child labor and mining working conditions that somebody had to go through to build that piece of jewelry. And I bet you probably don't think about blockchain. While there have been several advancements in this space, especially with the Kimberley process, there is still lack of trust and transparency, and especially from the consumers and the new generation of millennials who are asking for the provenance information when they buy their jewelry. They want to make sure it's been sourced ethically, it went through all the approvals and all the audits that they're expected to go through, and it's going to last them forever. Well, blockchain technology has capabilities that could help both sides, right? It could help tell you a beautiful story of a piece of jewelry coming together through all the stages of the process. It can also provide that provenance information to the consumers that shows that the gold and the diamond has been mined and manufactured ethically when it came together in that final piece of jewelry. I'm very excited to share with you this new collaboration that IBM is starting with other leading industry providers in the jewelry space. It's called Trust Chain. And the unique proposition of Trust Chain is that it's focused on the entire piece of jewelry. So it really is focused on you as consumers to bring trust, transparency to you, underpinned by blockchain. The entire solution spans through the entire supply chain, from mine to manufacturer to retailer and auditor, so that you can see the entire journey of the piece of jewelry that you're buying all the way through. Blockchain is uniquely positioned to provide a level of trust and transparency that jewelry consumers are asking for. And I really look forward to grow and develop this collaboration so that it becomes the industry standard going forward. I'm Catherine Malkova, Strategy Labs leader in GBS, North America, IBM.
Okay, so we have an interesting story here about the blockchain. So I think everyone's excited about the blockchain because they think in and of it by itself, it can ensure legitimacy in the diamond industry. So in fact, we'll start with Leanne a little bit. So what is it true that the blockchain is this magical thing that's going to solve all the problems of all the blood diamonds? I mean,
well, can everyone hear me? Great. Well, when I was young, I believed in unicorns as well. So I guess that mythical creature is a parallel to what we're unfortunately pronouncing globally. But no, blockchain as a solution is really next generation internet technology. So just as we've seen the internet was born in the late 80s and early 90s, this technology enables the internet, or a digital transformation effort, to transfer value between two people. So whether that value is constructed as money or whether it's constructed as an item, it's next generation internet technology. So it's not necessarily a mythical creature, but it certainly sometimes has taken the form of it will solve everything. It won't.
Mark, you have successfully done an amazing thing going and incorporating both the gold and all the features of what goes on to actually make a piece of jewelry which is credibly identified as being legitimate. Is that correct?
That's our effort, yes, sir.
Is it actually happening?
We did one test. We moved gold from, I'll tell you where. We moved gold from Wharf Mine in South Dakota to Asahi Refining in Salt Lake City, to Leach Garner for fabrication and casting grain in Massachusetts. We moved that to Mumbai, where the ring was made. On the other side, the diamonds supplied by Rio Tinto for the proof of concept moved from Divik to Antwerp for cutting to the same factory in Mumbai. There, we put it all together. We had a finished engagement ring, 1 carat, 3 or 4 different styles. We moved that to our distribution center. We moved it to Helzberg Jewelers. Along the way, and you hit a couple great points earlier, along the way, we did have third-party verification. We had UL at every single step along that way, verify sealed envelopes in, sealed envelopes out, weights of gold, movement of diamonds, all the way through the distribution center and all the way through to Helzberg. So is that scalable? That's tough. But is that the right way? I think you made the point before. If we can figure out where things came from, and we can tell people where things came from, and we can verify that there's no garbage in, garbage out, I think we're on the right track. Are we there? No, it's a long ways to go.
So the idea is to have a chain of custody for all the materials. First of all, you'd have to know that the material is legitimate to begin with, okay?
Yep.
Now, if you had legitimate raw materials, be it gold, diamonds, or manufacturing also, a factory could have slave labor or something, God forbid. So if you have all of the different pieces legitimized as they sit, then what you can do is you can have a chain of custody that helps you combine all of those things into a finished product that would then be termed certifiably legitimate, or knowing that this ring came from all of these components. And the blockchain would play an important role in being able to authenticate that process.
Yeah, the blockchain is really the documentation to all that. And listen, it's not just a big new database. We did something similar from 2006 with Walmart and some other people called String. Basically, it was the same thing. Documentation, we'd input the paperwork through String, we'd have a complete chain of custody. This is different. And it's different because in the first example, all that input was us. Right? So I had to be a very trusted source on that because it was all our input. Now, every member of that chain I just mentioned has complete accessibility and transparency to everything that happened all the way from that chain, from the mines all the way through the retailer. So Helzberg has it on one end, the mine has it on the other, everything that happened in between. So for us to not put in correct data, or for us to want to change data, it's something to our advantage, all 8 members of that consortium would have to see it, agree to it, and feel it's the correct thing.
So you're talking about a democratized, team-based supply chain authentication system. Would that be a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I think any of you that read a lot about blockchain, you hear Bitcoin, you hear all kinds of Ethereum, all kinds of things, but we're a private permissioned network. We're not a totally open source to the entire consumer. They get to vote on it network. We're a private permission network for all the good reasons you can imagine. But we're also creating a transparent layer for the consumer. And that transparent layer is going to be something that will sort of lay bare that entire chain of custody. Where did I come from? We're at the stage now where we're working on consumer interfaces, the user interfaces. We're in a research stage. We've developed them. We're getting consumer research on, is it enough? Is it too much? Do we explain it the right way? We also have 2 graduate programs, one at Wharton and one at Bryant University in Rhode Island, working on the same sort of X-factor information to see whether we're doing the right thing.
So Leanne, what's with this private, public? I mean, if we talk about the blockchain, for example, it's hard for me to believe that anyone who supplies a diamond to someone wants that someone to see who his suppliers were. Because that's the trade secrecy. Do you think I want everyone to see who my supplier is? So how does this work? Private, public, secret, not open, closed? I don't understand this. Could you explain it, please, Leanne?
So I've been a software engineer for the better part of 25 years, and whilst blockchain is a new word that's, of course, on the headlines of most printed articles, it's a combination of relatively old and mature sets of technology. So to understand what blockchain is, there is a layer of database technology. Instead of storing the data centrally, we store it in a distributed form. So members that are connected to the chain would have a table or a chain of data that would then be synchronized with the other members within the network. But it can't just stop there, because the reality is we then need to put a layer together of understanding the rules of participation or consensus, which is another layer of the blockchain. How will participants enable themselves to provide an opinion or an authentication layer of truth? Now, in a public chain, which is what some people have been working on, enables the ability in a public chain for anybody actually within this audience to participate on validating data within that chain. And they are validating that data by way of your computer mining certain types of algorithms to participate. So it's not necessarily based on understanding the truth of the contribution, it's just the effort to agree to the contribution. So all hands rise, therefore I am rewarded for participating across that democracy. In a private chain, it's a little bit different. So it's not necessarily rewarded on the computing power effort that you contribute, it's rewarded upon your ability to say, I am here to witness this as being truth, and I'm actually giving endorsement to that truth. And the third layer of the technology, which is quite important, is called cryptography. So that's not old. Cryptography, of course, was a very important part that ended up cracking parts of the code in World War II. So we see big companies like the Turing Institute enable that. Now, it's the combination of these three things together that give us the ability to provide a transaction trail of data to transfer things, objects, value between two people in a way that is somewhat trustful and in a way that enables the participants to agree, what does transparency mean to them? Transparency doesn't mean that it's naked to the entire world. It means I am enabling transparency upon agreement, upon a consensus of agreement. We've been working in the space since 2013, and I believe blockchain and blockchain alone is not the solution to transparency, and it's not the solution to the requirements of chain of custody. Blockchain won't solve for physical commodity supply chains. And just the enablement of being able to take invoices or digitising Kimberley certificates or putting photos on the chain really falls short of the true integrity of what we need to do. We need to be able to somehow marry material science, the ability with AI, machine vision, all of these sort of cognitive type, deep, investigative, forensic layer identity. You have to be able to connect that to the chain to give it integrity. And no chain can easily connect to those devices today. So there is still some large effort to bring true machine integrity into blockchain. We might bring people integrity, but it's no different to me saying, hey, you're my mate, I've been working with you for a while, so we know we trust each other, let's just both agree we trust. I think actually technology's moved well beyond that now, and that's the true effort that needs to be sort of investigated and implemented. We've been working with the space, and more recently, you may not have seen the underpinning work with the GIA. You know, they're a scientific laboratory that gives true deepness in terms of the forensic and material composition of stones. So that part alone actually gives independent, verifiable trust. Not because GIA are a good bunch of blokes, and that's not the case, right? Because they have scientific methodology that is absolutely truth at that very core. So that's really what the difference is in terms of what true integrity is in terms of blockchain.
So when we're thinking about all this, the blockchain isn't just some magical pill that's going to solve the problems of sourcing and source certification in the industry, but it's a tool, it's a way, it's a direction that we're taking which utilizes modern technology to help us to document what is actually happening with our materials.
Look, I liken it, I take vitamins every morning, but I couldn't run a marathon, and I'm not match fit to ensure that I've got integrity across the run of fitness. So it's similar.
What she said, no. Two things to add to that. I think there's gigantic hype around blockchain. I mean, gigantic. Anybody that goes to South by Southwest, you couldn't get in the 100 blockchain lectures that there were without waiting in line for 2 hours. So blockchain, Jack. Maybe it's overhyped at this point. But I think like Bill Gates said about the internet, it may be greatly overestimated right now, but it's very underestimated in the long term. And I think that one of the things Leanne spoke about, we have to learn how to create that API where it's her blockchain and my blockchain and your blockchain can talk to each other. So there's not dictums that says you've got to go it this way. It's co-opetition. It's not competition as to whose blockchain is better. It's get a blockchain, define those nodes, get the integrity, ensure the integrity, and then let's find out if we want to talk to each other and to make our chains consistent with each other and trustful.
All right, so I think that we're almost out of time here, and I have 1 or 2 slides to finish, but I think that to summarize this, the blockchain is going to be great for the diamond industry, for the jewelry industry, and for many industries. And it's sort of like the beginning of the internet days where we have new technology that is going to enable us in all kinds of ways that we can't even fully identify at this stage. But none of us should buy into the hype that just because something is blockchain, it means that the diamond or the jewelry is legitimate. It's simply, just because something has a KP certificate means it's legitimate. In other words, we always have to look what's underneath the hood, underneath the technology, underneath the documentation, to the basis of who we are as people. What are our values? How are other human beings in the world being impacted by how we spend our money and what we buy and where we buy and how we buy? So,
Yeah, there's a phrase that get used a lot in our industry called know your counterparty.
right.
Like, that's gigantically important here.
So that's
That
not, so blockchain is not going to change that.
You've got to have a link between partners that you can trust, all the way up and down.
All right, so thank you very much. You want to say something, Leanne, to close?
No, it's okay.
I
All
just
right.
want to say one more thing.
He talks, this guy.
I'm sorry, I still believe
Don't be
in Santa
sorry, you're
Claus.
great. You're a lot of fun.
You ruined Santa Claus for me.
No, go ahead. Say what you want to say. You're good. We're all good here?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. And Mark, and I'm learning that I have to finish on time, and we only have another, well, we don't even have another minute.